We now return to the post-game of Hi-Fi Rush, in the world of Chai's delusions. I mean, what?
I guess even rock stars need to get out sometimes.
I mean, don't you have people for that?
I agree. Turn the video game off. Chai, turn off the game console now.
What's the plan now that we defeated the big
Suddenly,
bad?
a crazy Colonel AI shows up.
Don't think you realized it yet.
Appreciate you putting your life on the line, but you gotta snap out of it.
Image is looking weirdly desaturated compared to how it was before. Almost a bit hazy.
Oh god, now they're gonna do beat poetry. There's gonna be a little person come in dancing backwards.
Not a little person, a little cat.
Oh, fuck off!
Yep, I knew it. I knew it.
Wait,
The crazy thing is, I know that there is exactly one other moment later in this game that is also gonna get you to just yell, "Oh, fuck off."
I was joking with the Twin Peaks reference. Fuck you!
Look, is it any surprise? Japan loves Twin Peaks, to the point that they will always lie about having ever seen Twin Peaks.
This is true.
I'll make this simple.
Uh,
Tell me where the rest of your team is hiding.
why don't you
Fuck
shut down
me.
that AI?
Anyway, now we're on Corsica's turf, which means we get to hear more from
All I know
Corsica.
it is, it's a simple firmware update, like we have on all our robotics.
Sounds like someone hasn't seen the code or whatever. It's a mind control AI.
Chai, you need to learn to not waver when you are trying to, like, bullshit your way and, like, bluff out of a situation.
Maybe you should look into that.
I'm
Put all these points into strength and dex and none into int
take a
and
nap and
whiz.
get the Spectra nonsense
Yeah.
out of your system.
Halfway through Charisma, surprisingly. Not max,
First thing
but,
tomorrow's
like,
your last
middle of the
chance to
road.
come clean.
Yeah, he's got maybe a 14 in it.
Yeah. But yeah, I'll admit, this is like a weird thing for me. It's like, I really do love Corsica in this game. In large part because of the fact that she is Scottish, because I've always had this as kind of like a axe to grind for me in regards to, you know, a different game series. Mostly Darkstalkers. Or more specifically, any time when Morrigan Ainsland has been featured in the Marvel vs. Capcom games.
Yep, she has never had a Scottish accent.
Yep, she's supposed to be Scottish, yet she just does not sound it at all. If anything, she sounds half the time like she's Irish, and the other half is the accent slipping because she's clearly... That's clearly not her accent or dialect. Whereas Corsica, like, minute one, like, she sounds straight up authentic, and it's like,
Yeah.
I wish that she was around so that she could have been the voice of Morrigan.
It's always been a pet hate of mine for obvious reasons as well, is the fact that, like, I can count the number of authentic Scottish accents I've heard in games and cartoons on one hand, and it basically starts and ends with Scrooge McDuck.
Yeah, and then everything else is just some variation of Mike Myers as Shrek.
Yeah.
Where it's straight up cartoonish, or like, it's always the stuff where it's like designed to be so boorish and over the top, like the manly man, Scotsman type of archetype. You don't really get anywhere. It's like, other normal Scottish accents.
It's like how there's really just like 3 English accents according to America. There's London, which basically crosses over with Cockney, and upper class, and that's about it. Like, you show most Americans a Welsh accent, and their heads will explode like something out of scanners.
Yeah.
This is good. Good.
Hi, Tango-chan.
And since you're in security,
It's just,
Oh
just
yeah,
tossing that ball against the wall.
just
Cool
go.
hand look.
See if you can figure out where she went.
Ladies and gentlemen. Come on, you're not even
we
gonna
got
finish
him.
There we go!
Bah, 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 bah.
We got him! Boom! Last week tonight with Corsica.
Nope, none of that.
I agree. She'd be too serious and po-faced for it, like, and not at all, like, do any sort of the comedic delivery. She, like, half the time she'd just be looking at me like, am I seriously having to read this shit?
Some robot, you know, just appearing behind her with 2 small flags, and she's like, that's enough.
Back to your post.
Bloody hell, I'm surrounded by bawheads.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and this is like it's also no surprise based on how like things have been talked about with regards to like the other corporate execs that like Corsica is like the most normal out of all of them.
I mean, it's not difficult.
Yeah, I mean she was a new hire. Like she only started like 6 months ago compared to everyone else where they presumably were in at least a year beforehand or more. It's like Kale brought in all of his buddies and then realized, oh shit, we need a security team in order to cover our asses legally. Who can we get? Preferably someone who is good at acting like they care about the law.
Okay,
and then they went through the...
At least pretend, okay? Yeah.
Yeah, and then they get to the interview process and it's like, okay, Miss Corsica, what are your qualifications? I'm Scottish. Alright, I guess that's the best we'll hope for.
You see this face? I have never once cracked a smile.
Good, just... as long as we don't have to make idle chit-chat about anything, that's fine. Get the hell out of my office. Here's your starting hours.
I find idle chit-chat offensive. She sounds a lot like there's a random Scottish character in Xenoblade 2. I wonder if it's the same voice actress.
Huh. I guess that wouldn't be surprising. I mean, having like a UK voice cast for Xenoblade has basically been that series calling card ever since it got localized.
Pretty much. I remember when it came out on the Wii, the original, and because we'd had a couple of, like, it's, from my understanding, it's mostly the same team that did the last few Dragon Quest games as well.
Oh,
and when
so there's a connection.
Yeah, I don't know if it is exactly, but there's a few actors and actresses appeared in both games. And, like, hearing British, authentic British voices coming from a video game back when Dragon Quest 8 came out, I was like, what the fuck is going on here? I'm looking into a weird mirror dimension.
Yeah, that's true.
Yes, you gotta have those.
Anyway, these are the best worker robots of the game. The Tech 78s are just chill bros. I also love that they do not seem to recognize that I am the defect who just escaped from their prison.
Guess we gotta talk to you.
First nodes across the elevator.
It's just whatever. It's just as long as we get the job done, it's all good.
Hard labor. Not my jam.
Hey, it's better than having them alert the rest of security that you're a fugitive and you just got loose.
I mean, I will take it.
Yeah.
Also, yeah, appears it isn't the same actress. Morag in Xenoblade Chronicles 2.
Okay.
I'm not going to look up Corsica just in case. Trying to go through this as unspoiled as possible.
Yeah. Anyway, that was a very handy note about, like, the importance of, like, maintaining security and actually asking for people's credentials.
Why would you do that? Everyone who's here clearly is supposed to be.
This dude's already failing that test. Seriously. Like, the only thing that would be more appropriate than that is if you came across, like, a PC that had, like, a sticky note on the monitor of the password, and then there was a log right next to it saying, company reminder, don't fucking write your password down on sticky notes.
We are changing your passwords to guest 123. Don't forget.
Like, Prey has already made a point of that being a thing already. Like, they have an intercom announcement of sticky notes, even well-hidden ones, are not a secure means of storing your password.
And then you walk into one room that's nothing but sticky notes and your PC crashes.
Yeah, Anything or nothing. Yeah, that's the thing. They're not just bros. They're also stoner robots.
Yeah, this is why you don't employ Joe Rogan for any reason.
I don't know. I feel like there's plenty of other stoners out there that are like way less of an idiot compared to Joe Rogan. They're or at least more fun to be around.
I mean, that's not a high bar.
Yeah.
Comic books.
Anyway,
This is what he wants.
we're gonna be like finding those drones all over this level because we accepted the second side quest of this game, which is to find the quote visual schematics that Tech 78 is wanting.
Please do not forget.
Although they look suspiciously like comic books.
Shocking.
Little guy. We take Corsica's password. You were halfway there.
3 more Vandalay bosses means 3 passwords. Then we can turn off Spectra.
3 plus 3 is 6, Peppermints. I can do math. I'm not dumb.
Half that sentence
pretty
was
sure-
correct.
I'm pretty sure he can only do addition and subtraction. I'm pretty sure that's the caveat. Don't ask him his multiplication tables. He is gonna be fucked.
I mean, I can't say much to that one either.
Please pain me no more.
More robots to smash. I always feel kind of a bit bad for the scrubs just because those are the only ones where like you can destroy them. But fuck it, you have very important resources for me. Give them.
Give it.
Also, I do appreciate how it's like even with some of these hidden items, you've noticed that there are like little scribblings on the walls that aren't like the collectible graffiti, but you saw there was like that reverb core piece. There was like a drawing of it on the wall with an arrow pointing to the upper right because it's like, hey, check out this place.
Yeah, just subtle
like-
enough that if you're not paying attention, you'll miss it.
Yeah, pretty much like the right way to do it. Like to the point where it's like, I don't even think that there's similar writing on the wall for every single collectible. It's just in places where it feels like it would be much easier to miss than others.
That was almost a haiku.
Yeah, I am not surprised that you had the same thought I did.
Yeah, I was like, 1, 2, 3. Nah, too wrong.
Yeah. Alright. 2 out of 10 drones. And more statue kale to beat the shit out of. Yeah, this stage, along with like the other 2 immediately after, is like such an interesting point of the game as far as like pacing and like I guess context in the plot, because we obviously know how like the first 2 levels went, and that it seemed to have like a very clear like traditional like kind of progression of events, where it's like you have a level with a boss at the end, you know, something that would be very standard in plenty of action games from years past. But then we didn't have any boss fights for stage 3 and 4. In fact, we obviously like circumvented having a proper fight with Zanzo by just hitting him with the good old gold experience. But now we're kind of at the part where it is like, it's still going to be a long while before we ever get back to the hideout proper, like in the real world, not in Chai's delusions.
Yeah.
Because it's this mission and the 2 after where it's just an entire stretch going from our prison cell to Corsica's office in order to get her password. And it starts to bring up some things where, like, this game, if you can believe it, was going to have some of its levels be even longer than they actually were, and they've already been pretty lengthy.
I mean, each individual chapter has been about 30, 40 minutes or so.
Yeah, close to an hour, like if you're letting the cutscenes rock, obviously.
Yeah. And I mean, if it's your first time through, you're gonna get game overs or not be quite as good at fights, so I don't know, probably closer to maybe 2 hours for a first playthrough.
Yeah, but I feel like with like this particular part of the game and why it kind of sticks out of feeling like it is potentially like the longest feeling part of the game is something that gets back to how music is so crucially tied to everything about this game. First 4 stages, tracks 1 through 4, you can clearly mark like the specific points when the main music track changes, you know?
Yeah.
Like there's like a track that plays in the first half and then another in the second. But as you'll find with this core track that we have going on through this part of security is going to be playing through the entire stage. And so I think that's what, like, when I was trying to think about it a bit more, like, why does it feel like that this stretch is, like, the longest feeling of the entire game? And I think part of that is because of the repetition, as you'll find with this, with, like, really only having, like, one background music track that goes all the way to the very end, as opposed to being switched out with another at a halfway point.
Yeah.
Because this stage, like this first node that we are going to repair is always set in stone. Like, we always have to go in this particular direction to node number 2. But afterwards, you'll find that we actually get a choice of going to either node 1 or node 3 afterwards. And I think it might be because of that choice, that moment of player choice, that they probably thought it wouldn't make much sense to, like, introduce, like, another track change. But I honestly think it would not have hurt if they couldn't have just, like, I don't know, had, like, a new music track that kicks in after you go back to the hub when you have fully fixed node 2. Because at that point, it's like, yeah, you don't need to worry about changing the music after you, depending on if you go to node 1 or node 3 next. It's just a weird thing that comes up as far as pacing, especially when we get to, like, track 7, like the 7th stage of this game. And this was actually something that was actively confirmed by John Johannes at a GDC talk when he answered the question, like, was talking about, like, what they had to do in order to, like, create, like, when it came to, like, creating the levels, syncing them up with the music, and how it was obviously would be very difficult to add new stuff, but very easy to remove.
Yeah.
Like, track 7 has a moment where it's kind of blink and you miss it, that you wouldn't notice that you just skipped a part of a level that was cut. But John basically said, yeah, we had to cut that because track 7 was already going on way longer than it should have, and people already brought up in their critiques that level was way too long.
Yeah.
In the final release. So this is going to be kind of the part where, like, if you have to describe it as such, this is kind of the slow point of Hi-Fi Rush.
Yeah. I mean, I'll give them their due. It's rare that you'll come across, especially in this day and age, that someone's saying, yeah, this bit feels too long, and them going, yeah, okay, fair enough.
Back at ya.
Yeah, especially if they already had the idea during development that this is even longer than what we finally put out.
Yeah.
It shows that, you know, it's good to show restraint, but sometimes you won't really know, like, what is, like, the right level of restraint until you get it into the people's hands.
Like with me, I never know where the line is till I've crossed it.
But man, all these platforms look the same.
But no, showing any kind of restraint when the tendency is towards excess these days, like, that is genuinely admirable.
Yeah. I mean, it's tough, but, like, because there's always the expectations when it's a console game. You know, you can't make it short and dense like an arcade title. You gotta make something that gives people the feeling that they're getting their money's worth. And you certainly will with this game, even if it takes a while in some spots, but it's like, you really do get the sense that, like, there is a lot they crammed into this, and it is still a wonder they even sold this for $30 at the minimum.
Seriously.
Like, what an amazing deal for such a shadow drop.
Like, looking at it logically, they have done everything wrong with this game.
Yeah,
like, they've got it. They based the entire thing around a gimmick. They dropped it with absolutely no hype, no advertising, nothing. Just basically relying on word of mouth. And they dropped it for what is now essentially a budget price. Like, that's not what you do with any kind of big game. That's not the preconceived right way of doing it.
Yeah. But as it turns out, you know, they did it anyway. And the positive word of mouth that this game got was totally worth it.
Yeah.
But this is kind of one of those things, though, that like that does lead to what I've talked about, where like this level does feel like it's the start of like a very long stretch, and that is because of if you're trying to like get all of these collectible things, you know, like the hidden graffiti and like the drones, because this section, you kind of have no choice but to just stand on like these platforms that are just inching forward beat by beat.
This is the speedrun killer.
My shift is done and want to go home.
Dude,
We all feel that.
You just got here 5 minutes ago. I know!
My commute here should have been part of the shift.
It takes me 2 hours to get to and from work.
Yeah, like for people that have those kind of jobs, they absolutely deserve to get paid for that.
Oh, I was one of them. I was doing like a 8-9 hour shift, and then 2 hours each way. So it was basically 20 hours a week travel. I was basically doing a second entire job that I was paying for myself.
Oh man, there was a testing job I did when I was in Washington, where it's like the location I guess was just outside of like the usual bus routes, so it didn't have like the very like it didn't have anything resembling like the usual like frequent bus schedules that a lot of the other services had.
Yep.
So it led to the sort of thing where depending on how quickly I was able to get out of the building when the shift was done, is like if I missed the one bus that could possibly get me home, that was going to mean like an hour or so of just walking back.
Yep, been there.
Yeah, because I did not have a car as an option. Like, public transit was my only option. And thankfully, it was in a state where the public transit is better than most in regards to how this country is set up.
No, one of the worst ones I ever did was, like, say I finished at, like, 7 o'clock. The final bus, not the final bus, but before the bus timetable slowed down, was at like 6:50, and the next one after that wasn't until 7:30. So I said, hey, do you mind if I come in like 10-20 minutes early and, you know, leave 10 or 20 minutes early so I can actually get home at a decent hour? And they were like, yeah, that's just not going to work for us. Did not last long at that job.
It do be like that.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, here's a charge attack.
I'm surprised you haven't had any before now.
Yeah. Again, another one of those very situational, not high priority moves, but I mean, like, if you're in a situation where, like, no enemy is going to be able to attack or interrupt you during it, it's like, you might as well have it, like, lay some big damage at the end.
Yeah, or it's a good opener for heavy damage.
Yeah. It actually pairs really well, I'm going to say, with the, with, like, the charge assist move for Macaron when we get it, and you'll see.